So seeing as these guys decided to like just incarcerate the scone engazingeni, and seeing as they decided to go and burn in an oven the scone engazingeni, even though it's already fully cooked, seeing as they decided to go and impoverish a woman that already made a career just so they could make her a devourable scone, when then that scone is still like, no thank you, still movie. That's all that there is over there. That's all that's giving. Mamela, you're a bottle top. Opaniki. Kitla you walk down the aisle to paniki. And you spy Pumagim. Wah, bam, ham. Now it's murder, it's GBV. Either because you don't want to be maintained in a relationship that don't make any kind of sense, so you leave, or Alfunum Tulanaye at all. Then what started all this GBV in the country? Polygamy, allowance for it. We are to be overwhelming and overcoming apartheid. I mean, that was a victory on its own. And then you go and you create more oppressive laws to the very blacks who are oppressed in apartheid, now that we have apparently come free. And so therefore the freedom we thought we were gaining in Christ, who gave us a new nation, is all gone. And with then your black entitlement, you also harassed white people, Indian people, made the country insufferable to live in. And now you're also, because if you first start out entitled to marry as many women as you want, and then you end up entitled to white man's land, you then end up entitled to just taking whatever you want, getting all the tenders of the country, all the business contracts of the country, building our infrastructure with lackluster materials. And so our streets are cracking, our buildings are with shoddy finishings. Our nation is basically just kind of kept together with sticky tape, and then our electrical infrastructure is falling apart. Only those that stand with the ANC government, the black government of this country, can thrive. So Wonkumuntu is out here, listen, drowning. After all, it's that tsunami in Japan, but in South Africa, it's giving Cape Town. Yeah, yes, in South Africa, it's because you don't love Jesus. And so because you don't love the king, and you think I'm just some religious pretty nutbag. Do you? I only have all this wisdom because God sends me the angel Gabriel to be a messenger to give me understanding, or his other angels underneath him. I've been given understanding by angelic beings that minister to my spirit, my soul. As I speak, I'm told what's going on by God through his servants, the angels, what you're doing. And then you say I'm religious. Listen, if at all this here is not coming in prophecy from the God of the universe, and so therefore making this a religious message, nothing else makes sense in these streets other than religion, because it is only through religion that we get to heaven. So what are you doing going to hell and everything? Listen, nobody knows. Anyway, whatever. Too religious for your liking. I mean, behavior as well. Anyway, it's starting to get nice and warm because it's like 6 a.m. in the morning. So we're gonna fan ourselves, but comprehend this very thing. Oh, individuals. Polygamy contributed to gender-based violence, and polygamy or customary law also indirectly contributed to all the other ills in this country, because our entitled black conglomerates out here feeding big business in this country has also made out of our businesses very, very corrupt executives, very, very corrupt senior managers, general managers. MTN, the company I used to work for, was known, it was always in the news for corruption, because the ANC is out here fueling dirty cops, if you will, dirty employees, dirty business leaders into our corporates. They're funneling corrupt executives into our corporates. They're giving opportunities and jobs. They are recommending in boards of directors men and women that belong to their freaking cults, men and women that belong to their secret societies. And so if, like I said earlier, Kimo Jacob Zuma helped along the cancer metastasizing at a violent rate in this country of polygamy. When your kings are evil, people take up their ideology. When they're righteous, again, people take up their ideology. Righteous kings, people, when a king is righteous, it is written in God's word that the people rejoice, but when he is evil, they mourn. But also, wicked kings introduce idolatry. We saw it happening in Israel. When God raised up judges redeemed the people. And as soon as those judges died, the people went back to their idolatry. If at all a king was wicked in Israel, the whole country was evil. But if a king was righteous like David, if a king was righteous like Josiah, if a king was righteous like Jehoshaphat, all of Israel was better off. So people will always follow the example of their crazy kings. That's what I'm getting at. So if at all, people will always take up the example of their incendiary kings. Necessarily, therefore, must you understand that in a business, a corporate, an organization, if your CEO is just corrupt out here oozing pus all the day long, every orifice of his body is giving racketeering and money laundering, then the staff on the ground ain't gonna mean jack to nobody. MTN was a very corrupt organization that left a whole bunch of crazy stuff to slip under the cracks. So therefore staff members were also just freaking nefarious. That's why they were able to trump up all those crazy charges against me. Righteous men don't thrive in a crime state. The other day I spoke about an example from the TV series show called Gotham on Netflix, where it is that Don Falcone was speaking to Jim Gordon, speaking about how it is that Jim Gordon, we understand you've got these grandiose ambitions to transform and reform, therefore, Gotham, but you're too righteous. And righteous people, good men, are bad for business in a crime state. So take this advice from me, seeing as I was best buddies with your dad. Oh, Jim Gordon, get out of Gotham, or stop being a police officer in trying to achieve righteousness, or just blend in like wallpaper, because you're not going to win a fight of good against evil when you are living in a crime state as a righteous man, as a good cop. Because I own the police, I own big business, I own. Gotham, if you watch that show, you will actually be getting the heebie-jeebies. It looks like South Africa. Like I said, this is South Africa. Yeah. My version. It's an evil empire. So if at all your CEOs are members of cult, if at all your general managers and your executives are corrupt and they've got shoddy, underhanded business deals, they're going to despise whistleblowers. And they're also going to despise righteous employees. They're going to hate prayer. They're going to hook up corporate governance that stands with their corruption. And they are, like I said, they're going to have shoddy business deals. And HR cases are not going to win favor for the actually right person. I had a whole bunch of crazy corrupt employees at MTN thoroughly trump up charges against me that were easily debunkable. The evidence was in favor of me. It inculpated them, and it was exculpatory on my behalf. I have a paper trail and witness account of my absolutely sheer innocence, and yet I lost anyway because I was an employee of an organization that was entirely teeming at the folds with a gangrene in the walls, a mold in the walls. I was working for a company that was so rotten at the core that even the one or two corrupt executives exposed in the media, both in group and in SA, was not enough. The gangrene was deep. It was, like I said, mold in the wall. You must tear down that whole structure. Bring down that whole, like it was termites in a tree. It's not going to live. It's too contaminated. Therefore, when I try to be righteous, of course I lost everything. Because employees there were influenced by their filthy kings. They were influenced by their filthy leaders. They were influenced by those who ran atop them. They witnessed corruption on the ground and figured that as a caucus of satraps and administrators, they would harass the entire future prospects of Daniel in the den. Throw him therein. They made a decision that they're going to throw me in the lion's den because but because there was no convicted king who would do a different thing, I never got taken on one day later out of the lion's den. I'm still chilling in a den full of lions, and they're roaming around me and able to devour my flesh 11 years after losing my job at MTN. Listen, 11, and everybody stood back and did nothing. It's a crime state. It's a crime syndicate. And it is fueled by this gnarly government that is pesky and absolutely detonating in its core, called the ANC. It is being destroyed by ANC alone, that is just fueled by the jet fuel of occult magic. ANC. Well, the ritualists over there, they are running the country on the steam of Freemasonry, and they're also running the nation on the steam of occult magic, and they think they can't be brought low because the devil has given them so much power. But listen, tapelo, contriteness, repentance of a country, sackcloth and ashes. It'll unravel all of your structures overnight. But you see, like I said, millennials, Gen Xers, Gen Zs that are older are not going to do that. They're not going to make like Nineveh. The king is not going to decree a fast. And so therefore the whole country stay God's wrath. So you are not going to recognize South Africa in a couple of years. You are not going to see it for what it is. You will struggle to find basic things that you enjoyed that were your favorite foods on the shelves, like Bawan. You're going to struggle to find your favorite muesli on the shelves. Grocery stores are going to be empty because this country is going to be finished off by its idol worship. You will have been complacent and so therefore complicit in the murder of the nation. And it'll only be children that are going to bring forth Lazarus from the cave. The remnant among Gen Zs, Gen Xs, millennials are going to pray for your children at least to take the country back. Mara, by the time that Gen Alphas raise this country up from the ground, the next ANC, it's going to, listen, they're going to rewrite history. The Mandela that is being praised and heralded on the rooftops, that statue, Echo Santon Square, called the Nelson Mandela Square, is going to be brought down. They're going to come to a consensus and an agreement that he was a pagan king that ran this country to the dogs. History books are going to be rewritten to favor the narrative. Like I said, whoever controls history controls the future. Whoever controls the past controls the future. The Gen Zs are going to control the future narrative of South Africa by changing how to look at history. And they are going to tweak it in the fashion that ought to be, to recognize the super villain that Nelson Mandela was, as opposed to the hero. That's what's going to happen. Mara, it's only going to happen in January, where a whole chunk of y'all going to be dead, and your children and their children's children are going to create that new narrative. That's why, Gere, you are now today Idi Amin. The incendiary decisions of people like Naledi Pandor to actually be speaking against Israel, the truth of what it is that even raised up that case at the ICJ by South Africa, will be communicated in textbooks, and it'll be clear that South Africa sparked up anti-Semitism against the Jews because of the new administration, the new regime, if you will, and it also caused so much Christian persecution in the country that was unheard of and unspoken to, because people were trying to actively thwart saints, that it took the diaspora and the remnant to pray for their country until ultimately there was recovery of a land that called itself Christian and yet paganized all of our Christian public holidays and gave more platform and podium, therefore, to a religion that wasn't even the one of the country, and then terrorized all other demographics in the nation with their religion, with their ancestral worship and their traditionalism. They terrorized Christians in this country that were made up of Indians, whites, blacks, coloreds, everybody. They ostracized everybody else in the climate of a most primary religion in this land. There was yet another one of the secondary religion in the land. That was yet like all these other tertiary or secondary religions that were subservient to Christianity. Ancestral worship is just as subservient to Christianity in this country, or at least it ought to be, as Hinduism, as Islam, as etc. And as a result of all of this activity, Islam took us over for a season, but we fought and we then brought back Christ. It won't be ancestral worship that thrives, it will be Islam. And I'm about to get into that to help you understand how close to that we actually are. That once you finally listen to this video from a vantage point where you try to ignore me, you will then be with somberness and tears trickling down your ugly eyes. You will realize that you ignored the right people for so long that now you couldn't fix your country. All you could do is pray to the Lord, at least for eternal life, that when you're aging, you will only ever mourn at a country that you destroyed. Don't be out underestimating anybody. Seeing as customary law will have given rise to ancestral worship, women, not ancestral worship, but femicide, gender-based violence, women are going to be among the first to pray. They're going to be among the first to essentially seek the Lord's face for recovery. Because they're going to get sick and tired of being such crazy sycophants of crazy dudes baba loya and baba jasang that are ritualists bathoring di mamlambo, that because batlorabela and basadi babangata in this country, especially in the black community, are single mothers, they're going to influence the children coming out of their bellies for God. I spoke in my last video about how it is that Gen Z moms and dads are going to be among the first to retrain their children in Christ. Gen Z moms and dads are going to be among the first to retrain their children in Christ, and when then people cry out to the Lord and remember their first love, God starts to heal a country. So it'll be too little too late for Gen Zs to fix the country, but they will, however, succeed to train up the generation that will fix it. Whereas millennials, you will go to the grave with nothing but eternal life if at all you repent, and Gen X, Gen Baby Boomer, etc. But if you don't repent, you will go to the hell that you deserve for destroying the country. It's what I'm getting at. So seeing as customary law ignored Christian Judeo foundations of the most paramount laws in this country, and our judges are so corrupt that they are punting this nonsense as Tola justice when we then seek out our constitutional rights. Now, if at all we are a Christian nation and the Constitution is paramount to all other laws, including those that are found in common law and customary law, if at all the Constitution, whatever is our right or whatever is our constitutional standing, if at all it is paramount to all these other laws, in a Christian country with Christian national anthem and Christian public holidays, and hey, everybody else is living here, it's our country but everybody else just lives here, yeah. If at all that's what has been going on in these uneasy streets of Africa du Sud. And yet, however, strangely in a Christian country, so you can understand how much ANC is feeding big business, whether they be black, white, pink, or purple. How much ANC is feeding big pharma. How much ANC is feeding big tech. How much ANC is feeding all industry. So you can understand and if at all a man is awarded financial prosperity, he won't care that you've got 7 wives. He won't care what you believe in. And he won't care that the country that he was raised up in is Christian, and so too is the faith of his grandmother. He won't care about his roots, only his pocket. So we're getting a whole bunch of white corrupt executives that, however, when you look at the roots of why they're so corrupt, they've been fed by the ANC. They tend to be linked to whatever race they are. ANC is trying to control. They control the media, we know that. SABC, yeah. Proper big media. By big media, what I want to say is mainstream media. Yeah, ANC. Listen, it doesn't matter if you're ENCA, SABC News, ETV, whatever, it doesn't matter. Newsroom, Africa, whatever, it doesn't matter. ANC. And so because they're trying to control the narrative, like I said, when this case ultimately blows up and maggots come out, strangely, South Africa's going to be mum on the matter. And thank God for social media. This wish is happening. Thanks to social media, this here which is happening in our own country is going to be strangely shared by international news media and also independent voices, independent journalists on the ground in South Africa, independent YouTube channels with just 50,000 subscribers are going to be the only ones covering this news. Whereas our own mainstream media, it won't shout too much about it on the rooftop. It'll say enough about it for it to not be evident or clear that you're literally trying to push this under the carpet, but they will make it like just a fleeting news piece. And even then at the very end of the news, just before the weatherman comes on, they will cover it in Mara, it's going to be splattered all across media in America. I told you that the corruption that is out here messing with American social media platforms, that is chilling in the South Africa of ours and in Africa in totality, it is going to be the uprooting of it across all of Africa. is going to be by bipartisan rule in the US, where both the Democrats and the liberals are going to put their differences aside upon realizing the level of cancer that is on their platforms from Africa. I told you guys about the one lady who commented on a CBN News article about Christian persecution in Nigeria, saying that on her own Facebook, she goes and basically types in protect Christians in Nigeria, there's Christian persecution, and that particular post, just Yona Eliwan, is shadow banned, and she gets no comment and she gets no views, barely, on it. There is something actively thwarting Christian voices, and this thing is coming, yes indeed, in Africa, but there are moles in America, in the Trump administration, that at the beginning of his administration, Donald Trump hooked up an executive order banning all different kinds of religious persecution, hurting people on social media platforms as a result of their religion. Therefore, nobody should be happening upon the plight for Christians on a platform that is American like Facebook, and indeed be met with banning. Is Mark Zuckerberg ignoring Trump? Are the CEOs, essentially, of these media companies ignoring Trump? No. There are syndicates operating within social media companies, and since Mark Zuckerberg cannot be a fly on the wall on every post and every last thing happening in his organization, they are essentially they are insubordinating their bosses, their big tech bosses. They're insubordinating them. It's like clandestine, shrouded little secret society crazy bomb blasts that have got employees everywhere across the world, and they're actively trying to thwart Christianity because they're aware that Christianity is the reason why their stuff is not being punted or proliferated. There is power in Jesus, and they want to squelch this power. So true saints walking in true power, they smother us. True saints walking in true power, they smother us, and so therefore you're gonna find just heinous Christian persecution happening in Nigeria, being spoken by lay Janes and lay Joes, being shadow banned in the secretly, because they know the power of influence of the little man on the street insofar as he can get 500,000 views. And then over and above that, the crazy little shrouded secretive executives that work for media companies, like what's going on in the United Kingdom with BBC, actually be putting lies on the network and then having to apologize, for instance, to like Trump or whatever. They speak lies that are evidently provably lies and then turn around and apologize. I spoke about media tactics that way. If at all people honored decreeing executive orders or their own country's constitutions or their own country's freedoms of expression or whatever, every news network that is mainstream would cover a most bizarre story happening everywhere in the world. But there are people controlling the narrative, and these individuals controlling the narrative belong to what would be the tenement of the deep state. They're shrouded in the corners. They're like a shadow government. They're not those nations' presidents. They're not actual journalists. They're not actual news anchors. They're just people who are pushing the narrative to cause a news anchor to just read from a teleprompter. And that's what we share today. So therefore, journalists have a rough time because they've got a moral dilemma. They're making a whole chunk of money, but they know that they cannot share certain stories that they have found in the street because somebody said, no, I don't want you sharing this. So unless they break away, and then function independently and run their own podcast, they will never be able to finally speak about the stories that they've always wanted to speak about. They're patsies. And so because they're patsies, God hands them over to their patsy status so they can continue to amass for themselves millions of dollars or rands in their salaries every year. But those that actually want to stand for what is right will have to quit their jobs and essentially cover the truth and face being banned by the very institutions that once paid them millions of rands or dollars just to run a story. But you see, it is this banning that's making people be severely disincentivized from even being a whistleblower. And it is this very banning that is going to be lifted by people you underestimate that are unsung heroes, that are thankless in their profession, the intercessors of this planet. The prayer warriors of this earth are going to be the reason why uncomfortable journalists, intercessors are going to be the reason why uncomfortable journalists finally gain the bravado to speak up. Because as a result of our intercessory prayer, there's going to be severe uprooting of so many wicked structures that now finally people are going to be able to fly like birds that never used to be able to fly. And as a result of people being able to fly like birds that never used to be able to fly, others are going to be like, it looks like there's leg room for me to be me. So I'm going to finally speak out about what I was doing there at CNN. I'm going to finally speak out about what I was doing there at SABC News. I'm going to finally speak out about what I was doing at Al Jazeera. I'm going to finally speak out about what I was doing at WeOn News Network. I was uncomfortable, but I was earning a big check. I was unhappy, and I was with a deep moral dilemma. But then brave people that were buried entirely, unable to speak, conquered a crazy structure that nobody thought could be uprooted, a monolith and a megalith. And as a result of them uprooting it, there then came up these independent voices that strangely were able now to amass for themselves 10,000 views, 20,000 views, 40,000 views. In a month, this chick has got 100,000 subscribers. What the heck? People have been hungry to understand the truth all this time. Yet they were thwarted. What caused her to get set free and yet be dishonest And why is she not being banned and given all different kinds of community guideline strikes? It's because some structures were demolished. It is because people died. It is because men lost children. It is because women were left without husbands. It is because God judged the wicked. It is because businesses bled of revenue. They lost contracts. They lost tenders. They were no longer able to yield their arm of influence because no longer are they now billionaires. They are now millionaires. Because Christians drained Imalia. And so if at all Christians, just by interceding, and I told you that God showed me that only 200 such saints across the world are going to succeed to uproot the structure in the media. Only 200. Among them of which I am counted. Just like in the days of Gideon, only 200 soldiers. So it can be clear that the battle was always the Lord. These 200 Christians are going to impoverish tech giants from Kudra, as in significantly drain their wealth. These 200 Christians are going to stop wealth transfers. These 200 prayer warriors are going to so weaken the structures of these megaliths that strangely there are going to be people that are left to just thrive that historically were blocked. Because if we don't let Karabo go, I'm going to go from being a billionaire to a millionaire to a thousandaire. I'm going to go from being a billionaire down to a millionaire, down to 100,000-aire, and maybe even just a 1,000-aire. I don't want to lose my millions. I don't want to lose my business dealings. I don't want to lose my contract. I don't want to lose my standing. I don't want to lose my clout. I don't want to lose my anything I'm doing. So to create a facade of still being a powerful man, I'm going to let Karabo go and fly like a bird named Khan. Because the moment I sit on her chest with a hoof on it, she will start with her 200 strong men and women to bring down our structures again. Essentially, these people are going to look like they have just loosened restrictions on social media because they got an attack of conscience. But rather what it's going to be is that restrictions on social media are loosened because they got an attack of their finances. They be out there bleeding like a cadaver on the side of the street after a heinous accident. They're bleeding. They're being drained, sapped dry as with a straw. And some of them are drained so much money that they're literally facing the threat of moving from being a billionaire to a millionaire. A millionaire is still a lot, but from being a billionaire, listen, you have lost a lot. You have lost a lot. They're gonna get off our chairs because God showed them that unless you let my children go, you also won't get to eat bread. But you love your reputation, don't you? So for the sake of maintaining whatever little money you've got left, you will leave my daughter be, gnashing your teeth, all upset, pulling out your hairs. You will, in a great deal of anger, blowing steam out of your nostril like you're a dragon, you will give my daughter everything she's ever wanted. You will gnash your teeth, reluctantly letting her go. Because I mean, is this poverty-stricken woman not out here bleeding you dry like she sliced your jugular or whatever? That's what's giving. That is the power of prayer. So when I say God will ultimately give you exactly what you want, even though people have said you're not going to get exactly what you need, comprehend you're going to get exactly what you need and want because God said so. I'm not dying, I'm not going anywhere. Now in reverting back then, Opampunaris, ne? Random chimpanzees, I did refer to women as that. Thanks to all these chimps, ne? The women that are married to these polygamists, all of us endured GBV, but that GBV, like I said, is a snare on the whole nation. Now, if at all, embracing customary marriages can raise an epidemic of femicide in the land until our nation, South Africa. In the last shows that I did, I spoke about how I was watching some documentary at Thabo Bester, and there was this one Indian lady that gave the stats of this country, adding to my sorrow, like, what in the world is going on? And I came to learn that South Africa has been deemed the rape capital of the world. Listen to these stats. This is what customary law did in the country. This is what idolatry achieved in the land. This is what men feeling entitled to more than one wife has achieved. Not only are we the rape capital of the world, because if you want to grab it anyway because it's been put at the buffet even though the muffin doesn't want to be with you, you're gonna rape, right? We are the rape capital of the world, South Africa. Not only are we the rape capital of the world, but in the instance of such rape as this, when then you go to the Popo and open a case in order that you might get justice, there is apparently only under 50% of people that actually get arrested because women said a man raped me. Women said a bugger raped me, goes to the police station. Only 50% of men are arrested. What is to account for this shoddy, measly arrest rate? I cannot for the life of me comprehend. Is it because women are not doing rape kits and so there's no evidence of having been violated? Is it because the police just don't care? I don't know what is behind why only half of them find themselves arrested. And then herein lies worsened statistics. Okay, so you've arrested only half of these rapists that were reported as rapists. Fine. What is the conviction rate of these 50%? 11 to 20. No, it was 11. Is it 12 to? It was 11 to 12%. 18. I don't even know why I came up with that. 11 to 12% conviction rate. So not only are we the rape capital of the world, but when women make a decision to report rape, only half the guys get arrested. Upon getting arrested, only half of them actually get convicted of rape. Listen, our country is dead. It's dead. Gender-based violence is through the roof and nobody's getting justice. Women are helping men rape women. Women are putting women in the harm's way of men. And then when those that are brave enough to stand up and say, this guy raped me, they are highly likely, 80% of the time, going to watch this guy walk around up and down bouncing like a beach ball in the streets because he got arrested and then let go. Or he went to court and he was found not guilty. What is causing 11 to 12% of a conviction rate? I would imagine it's what would be the taboo of the forensics laboratories of this country that was supposed to take care of GBV cases. The labs. That which you get from hospitals after doing rape kits. They've got DNA, they've got visible signs of forced entry like a burglary, they've got imagery. So who here is making sure that stuff is not getting to the police? Either corruption, paid off nurses and doctors that do these rape kits, or the laboratories that it was spoken some years ago that Bheki Cele was out here interviewed and asked questions concerning why it is that the crime laboratories that are to be doing DNA analysis and whatnot, forensics essentially, is not getting around to indeed solving GBV cases. Don't nobody out to be giving a proper answer. But the situation was so backward and so bad that in some cases where people could pay fees to move the investigation over to private laboratories, they then moved them over to private labs. But most victims of GBV, first of all, are in the black community, most of the black community of which is largely poverty stricken. Ain't nobody got money to be out here paying a private lab to do your forensics. So if at all the country's government cannot do forensics to figure out what in the world is going on with rape kits, of course these guys are going to walk away scot-free. But I mean, what is causing, not Bheki Cele at the time he was police minister, what is causing that bugaboo to not be able to refurbish and do right by his crime labs? Bachung, if you're going to rape a woman and you live in a country that is proliferating polygamy, that loves to pamper crazy rapey boys, like what's going on with the ones encircling me, honey, you're going to pay bribes, you're going to buy dockets, you're going to do what you need to do to make sure that that rape kit don't go anywhere near a laboratory. You need to denature the specimens so that they can no longer be usable and so therefore admissible in court so you can throw it out. So women are not getting justice. If at all they're not getting justice, I mean, what happens to women that are painfully afflicted in that fashion? They become nasty, gnarly, monstrous. If you've been raped and you got no justice, you're going to be like the random harlotress buffoon at YouTube with manhood in the center. You're going to hate men so much because you got no justice that you're going to try and take it out on other women. First you're going to try to kiss the girls and they're like, and if they don't want to kiss you back, just like the entitled bugaboo rapists who took your body by force, you're going to then throw them to the rapist so everybody can camaraderie and kumbaya with each other for not having justice from GBV. Women are angry because they're not being supported by fellow females, and women are angry because they're not getting justice. Women are angry because men are entitled, and women are angry because the entitled men are protected. And so therefore it just, like, listen, an unloved woman that gets married, the earth cannot bear up under her. So therefore hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. And if a woman is scorned, she's going to be absolutely sour, like a bitter peach to other women. Yeah, peaches get bitter. In my world, she's going to hate other ladies. So when women don't care about women because women are hurt, and when men are being protected for hurting women, and other men are disincentivized from standing up and doing what is right, not only is there an 11 to 12% conviction rate of rapey crazies, even then only half of them get arrested ultimately. And we are the rape capital of the world. And then listen to this very shocking, heinous statistic, so as to help you understand why South Africa is the cancer monster that it presently is. It is the cancer monster that it presently is. Mamela, we are a black nation, and largely, and so most of the stats of GBV are skewed, indeed, expectantly so, towards the black community. GBV does happen across all other races, but it is largely black women that endure it because of just the sheer demographics, the numbers of black people in this nation, and the fact that it tends to be a lack of protection over women that gets them raped in the first place. And like daddy issues, baby daddy culture contributes to that, and women just being left out on a limb, party culture where there's no protection of women, where men stand back and watch women getting beaten up in clubs and parties. Yeah, that kind of culture dwells richly in the black community. So most of the GBV happens against black women. So therefore, therein lies the issue with not caring about the black girl anymore. But understand, if at all, the majority of a nation is made up of black people, and so most of the victims of GBV are black women, it then says that this here is an epidemic of a cold-spiritedness within certain women because of having been hurt and gotten no justice. This coldness that dwells in women then contributes to the statistic of the somber climate of prayerlessness, godlessness, bitterness, and lesbianism that would actually cause Latoya Magene to marry a chick after being married to a dude and who was entirely straight once upon a time before. Mamelan, take your country, I don't want to be gay. Like, grab it, run with it, make like Forrest and just run on down, Squire for hire, run. Take your nation and run with it, I don't want it. Like, I don't want it. I am not going to be made gay and an affront to God just because every woman here is bereft and every man here doesn't care. I'm not going to do that. Anyway, whatever. Let's move on to the point that I'm actually trying to put forward. Herein lies the most shocking statistic out of all of these. If you think what I've said so far is shocking, understand this is the most shocking by far, by a landslide. Most crime statistics on earth, when they are a thing that is heinous, tends to be puzzling people and creasing people's foreheads, dwelling in the teenage percentages. So crime has increased by 12%. Oh, 12? 13% of teenagers end up taking drugs. 13? I mean, that's a huge number, because if you go and you calculate how many teenagers there are in any square meterage of a geographical location, and then figure out that 13, this is a huge, listen, it's hundreds of thousands of teenagers that are to be dying. It's hundreds and thousands of teenagers are to passing away from a drug overdose. It's a big number. Double-digit percentages are heinous to gaze at, because that which are percentages that are unacceptable yet nonetheless we can deal with them tends to be in the single digits. 5% increase in crime, 3% increase in crime, 12%, 2%, 7% increase in unemployment. Though those are okay digits, not okay, but we can deal with it. We can embark on staged interventions pertaining this thing. There appears to be a feasible forecast that we can draw, that maybe we can, quell the 3% to 2 and go and quell the 7% to 5. But when you are dwelling, never mind in the double digits, but listen, in the 20s and the 30s and in the 40s and the 50s, you know that something has just engulfed the country whole, like it's the Kraken and the Pirates of the Caribbean eating the Black Pearl. You know that you have just swallowed whole without chewing, like you're an anaconda, a whole body. If at all, almost half, like if at all 40% of people are enduring a grain, the country's gone. It's gone. It's not 12%, that's shocking on its own, dog. It's not 3%, that's shocking on its own. It's not 4, it's not even 15. 40% of women in South Africa will at some point in their life, from the age of 0 until they die, endure sexual assault. Oh, excuse me? I knew the stats were bad, I didn't know they were that bad. We are called the rape capital of the world. 40. Listen, according to statistics across the world, we are the most racist country in the world, because we've got the most race-based laws in the world. And are these race-based laws not founded on black entitlement? It's giving customary law. We are the rape capital of the world, and we are the rape capital of the world precisely because black men feel entitled to more than one wife. Customary law. We are with abysmal conviction rates of criminals that only half of them get arrested when cases are raised against them for sexual violence. And so therefore, given how many women report the cases and how many men get arrested and how many men upon getting arrested actually face jail time, not only are we the rape capital of the world, but we're also the most not only are we the rape capital of the world, but we're also the most unjust when it comes to justice pertaining that rape. And so when there is no justice, when the scales are tipped, when women have no avenue of essentially escaping their trauma, when they can't start to heal, because their rapists are still out to hopping like a kangaroo in the street. They become mean to each other. They try to throw each other under the bus. I can only be a woman comfortably if other women can relate with me. And because of how 40% of us will endure some kind of sexual violence in our lives, it becomes nice and easy then to find a friend that's been raped before. We can exchange notes about how it happened. We can exchange notes about how we were both pinned down. But the one chick walking among you that's never been touched by a rapey man, the one chick among you that is yet to endure rape, you're not gonna like her. Because what's with you and your bright-eyed and bushy-tailed disposition? What's with you and your bright-eyed and bushy-tailed disposition? I don't like that you're happy. Misery loves company. And so, if at all 40% of the country, there are women that have been sexually assaulted by men. Listen, I'm not even speaking right now about those that have been slapped, those that have been beaten beyond recognition, those that have been poured acid on the face of, those that have been killed. I'm just speaking about rape alone. Those that were taken by men who feel like, but I want you. But I don't want you. After all, you're ugly. With your dumbbell as you're working out in the gym thinking I'm gonna find you sexy because of that you're ugly. And this guy's like, Zobonisa, I'm gonna show you. For real. I mean, of course you get to say stuff like that in South Africa, don't you, bugger? You who think that whatever you are doesn't represent the majority of South African, does not represent a grain in this country. Of course you're gonna feel that way, if at all, after pinning me down onto a bed, harassing the living crap out of me, putting me in your house in a polygamous marriage, even though I said no at first. You're gonna then get people buying dockets, hiding them, making sure that I don't get justice. You're gonna get nurses in hospitals, females, willing to sell you a rape kit. You're willing to make evidence disappear. Dockets just out here, sweeping off the shelves like grocery items at an FMCG. Of course, when you're a rapey little mongrel, you are going to look at me like I'm just like hella irritating for saying, I don't like you, I'm the special muffin in this buffet. I'm covered by cellophane. You're gonna still try to rip apart that cellophane and have me anyway. Because I mean, you get everything you want, don't you? And after you get it, You burp and no one comes for you. 50% of the time you don't get arrested. And when you do, 80% chance you are gonna walk. Everybody's mad, everybody's angry, everybody's out just steaming like a sauna. So, don't nobody care. So since don't nobody care about these stats, if 40% of women in this uneasy country endure some kind of sexual violence in their life, Gucci in a crew of girlfriends, a good 8 of them are secretly hiding the fact that they've been raped. Out of a crew of 20 friends, 8 of them are hiding that they've been raped. That's what South African statistics say. And this is largely within, I would imagine, the black community. We make up the majority. So impinji zenu have been raped before, they won't say anything about it. Our mama benu have been raped before, they won't say anything about it. Because it's embarrassing for your rapists to walk free. Especially if some of y'all have got these rapists chilling in your own houses. Give uncle, give brother, give daddy. If all women are mum about being raped, what then are the chicks that have been raped, that are in your scheme of friends? And y'all know that rape out to be introducing demons into a woman's body even though she didn't have it coming. She needs deliverance. So her character is going to change. She's going to become a gnarly monster, a thunderstrike walking around. She will be a saboteur. She will be the kind of woman that will out here drive over her friend's body as she is twerking in the street. Violence among women is largely unheard of until it becomes heard of, because our country is just teeming at the folds with raped chicks that say Jack. 40% in a crew of friends, largely. And so are you not, if you've been raped before, are you not going to look at Karabo all happy and excited and getting married and be like, whatever? You look at her, she's like a virgin. She is glowing bright like the sun. Agaribwanga ever in her life. You will then sabotage her career. You will sabotage her prospects. You will sabotage, and listen, misery loves company, and raped women who have no justice become monsters against other women. And so even though they might keep it mum that they were raped, you will see it in their passive aggression. I grew up with that. Couldn't understand why friends were kind and then tomorrow they've changed their mind. Couldn't understand why yesterday we were bomba pestering, chest pumping, and then today, good different. What happened over there? Are you just a mean rando? Are you just that gnarly monster? Do you just have a lot of attitude? Or are you a rape victim that can't stand happy-go-lucky chicks that have never been touched? Because rape takes away the spunk in a woman's eye, the glow in her skin. It makes her cogitate day and night about what happened to her. But nobody wants to be the party pooper and the damper in anybody's step that's gonna always be talking about how a dude took me by force. They therefore keep it quiet. However, they will sabotage everything on the left and on the right. Listen, everything. So they've made a culture of monstrous women that cannot look at fellow sisters enjoying love, and they have created a culture of entitled men that are proud of the fact that women now shut up because we don't go to jail for what we do. All that was done, listen, by customary law. I mean, this thing needs to be vanquished like a warlock. It needs to be repealed, like all of it. Your customary law random stipulations must fall within rights to a freedom of religion. Everything else of it must just go vermouche, disappear. Everything, because it is already subservient to common law, and it ought to be anyway, and it also ought already be subservient to constitutional law. So if it's such a baby, and if it is so subservient, we can do without it. We can, because understand, Muslims are not exploiting customary law, neither are Hindus. It's only the blacks. It was there for them. It was their little cherry on top of the cake of South Africans' canon. It was there to satiate and titillate the taste buds of greedy South African men that now realize that I'm gonna get to make a whole chunk of money now because I'm no longer under apartheid. And with money, I'm going to finally do what I've always wanted to do. Marry as many chicks as I want. Very well. It has done that to our GBV stats. That's why we are, as South Africa, the worst country to live in as women. And that's why I gotta go, listen, because I've got like some dude trying to pin me down in a bed with chains and gags and everything because he's got a fetish. He's got a weird little fetish to do strange things to me. And I'm like, you're disgusting, you're ugly, and you're HIV positive. With your gold tooth, you've got just ugly going on all the day long. I get to when I tag your itch after giggling with an ugly dude. Because I'm more manly than he ever can be. And he's again, and he's by Magalenja Lena has been trained and coddled and cajoled and pampered by a nation with these kinds of stats against women. A CEO that feels like he can just pin down his secretary and she'll say nothing. A big boss that feels like he can just spread HIV and get away with it. Herein lies all these moderators at YouTube. But they're trepidatious, looking at me on some kisoro with kangaroo hands, pitying me. And they're all going to endure judgment from God for keeping quiet over a crazy dude that is the bane of everybody's existence. The other day I had a dream of this monstrous dude finally passing away from a heart attack watching my content. And after he died and the news traveled around that he passed away, people standing up from their desks where they are chilling and a hand of applause. On some she did it. I finally succeed to knock this guy out with a heart attack. And because I remotely killed a dude that felt entitled to me with a heart attack due to situation that he had put me in, the Lord showed me that if he had not harassed me like this, he wouldn't have died from a heart attack. Heart condition commenced as a result of his obsession with me and his determination to get me by any means necessary. From a heart attack. That's how he dies. He's been heavily suicidal, and if he doesn't end his life, and body bag black being let out of some kind of a living an apartment, like some space where this guy, either a hotel or an apartment, whatever, having obsessed over me. And frankly, laptop I'm amazing my content. He had a take and sitting where he's sitting. His body getting discovered. I don't know when. Yeah, carry you out. And after who communicate the uti inja so ishoni katola a vision. It was like a waking life sort of kind of understanding, where it is that I saw a whole bunch of people standing up from their chairs where they were sitting and giving me a round of applause, congratulating me for killing this man, saying in themselves, she did it. You're so scared of this monster to expose him. You're so nervous of him that you are sitting back waiting for a man to finish a woman off, and it's a trial by ordeal. You hope I win. You're crossing your fingers that I should win. And when he dies, I had a dream of people standing up and giving me a standing ovation. So therefore, it evidences that people are sick and tired of him. So much that you're waiting for me to make like Jael and put a tent peg in the head of Sisera. You're waiting for me to kill this guy from a distance. I hope in my content, having placed himself in my bosom, and because of the things I speak, getting so afflicted by what I say, that he will finally end up getting a heart attack. Having plans to marry me one day. And when then he dies, congratulate. That's what under heaven it is that we're dealing with. And because of this fear of yours, when then judgment finally reigns on these monstrous structures, dad is gonna die, son is gonna die, chick at YouTube is gonna die. If she doesn't repent very soon, if she repents, maybe in 50 years, this is what's gonna happen. This only then, their syndicate is going to be unraveled, and you all are going to be rounded up in interviews and questioned by hostile interrogators that don't understand that you were scared. They will only look at you as a suspect, and even though you felt some kind of way, they will nonetheless treat you like a criminal. You did that. Now mamela, these particular statistics, I can't have told you about the rape stats. I'm sure our nation is supposed to be Christian. We ignored our Christian Judeo values in favor of these ancestral worshippers because they are our government and they make up the majority of the demographic in this country, black. They prosper to conquer us with a law that is subservient to two laws that ought not be subservient: common law and our constitution. Very well. Because of being taken over then by black business, by black politicians that fed contracts that are big, making people wealthy overnight. Like I said, they influenced, therefore, big business. And so influencing big business. Look at what happened in a Christian nation. My man, I was shocked out of my crazy brain. Look at what happened to a Christian nation with Christian national anthem, Christian public holidays, and even Muslim kids singing hymns in assembly. Understanding that this here is our country, you're just living in it. Listen what happened to that Christian country. Mamela, when was the last time you went grocery shopping? I already lamented about this. When? I don't know. Probably yesterday. When was the last time, upon interrogating the labeling on your grocery items, when was the last time you interrogated where this food is coming from and who endorses it and what's going on? Probably never. Because you just love your cinnamon from Lifestyle Foods. You just love your red velvet cake from Woolies. You just love your sweets, your jelly babies from Woolies. You just love your beacon chocolate. You just adore your Doritos. You adore your seed bar from Woolworths. You just love yourself your French bologna from Pick and Pay. Ritatala chicken sausages ezakho sisters from Checkers Hyper. You just love your food. Your favorite foods you like, out you're hugging them like a teddy bear, because you're all nostalgic about them. Oh, it's been a minute since I nibbled into Le Dinky. See, it's your favorite, so you don't care. You just put it in your trolley, but you're a Christian country. So why in the world is, listen, almost every item on your grocery shelves halal? I mean, this is supposed to be our country. They're just living in it. I told you that there's going to be an Islam takeover in this country. Why is almost everything on your grocery shelves halal? Halal food is food sacrificed to the idols of Muslims. It is sacrificed to Allah, who is not not God. And we are not supposed to, as Christians, eat food sacrificed to idols. This is a Christian country. In this caucus, in this meeting, first and foremost, let's take a step back. Let's go to 1994, when Nelson Mandela became president. If you can find anything at all in a pantry that you packed away like beans from 1994, if you can succeed to grab the brand Cool and bring it from 1994 into 2025, because you prospered to just store all that canned food from all those years ago. Bet there is a warehouse somewhere hanging out where there's food from 1998. How many of those foodstuffs have got halal branding on them? Shortly after apartheid, long story short, the apartheid regime of this country was not the best. It was horrible. It out here systematically oppressed people. But one thing they maintained this country as was Christian. You would never have found, listen, all the beans at Woolies, all the bread, all the cakes, all the cinnamon, all the spices, Robertsons. You would never find all of the salt, Cerebos, with that strange halal emblem on them. Cerebos salt. See how they ran. Remember that advert, yeah, chicken? See how they ran. Cerebos has been around since already the days of apartheid. In the days of apartheid, the halal branding and the halal emblem was not on Cerebos salt in the apartheid South Africa.